We started our sanctuary here 11 years ago, and we've rescued many animals over the years. However, there's such a need that we felt we should find a farm that has more space, and we were so excited that we found a place just down the road from here. The new farm is going to take a lot of work to get it ready for our animals. We have two barns, and they both have cement floors. In one of them, we can't remove the cement, so we're installing soft rubber horse mats to keep it nice for the animals' feet. In this barn, we're able to take up the cement, so we put dirt all over the floor, and we're going to put stalls in for the animals. Trenches had to be dug to redo the electric. We had to put new cables in the ground to the barns to keep the animals safe. Okay, we're going up into the hayloft now to see our straw and hay. We brought in over 250 bales of straw to keep the animals warm during the winter months, and there are over 800 bales of hay to keep their bellies full. Finally, after 4 months of renovations, including electric work, barn work, and putting in fences, we are able to move our animals to the new farm.
Hello and welcome to Give and Take, the Virtues in Life. And today's topic is Safe Haven Farm Sanctuary. And so you got an informal introduction of our guest today. And so she will formally introduce herself. And so welcome.
Thank you, Cicely. My name is Ellen Crain, and my husband, Bill, and I founded Safe Haven over 11 years ago. And it's really been a joy, although a lot of work, but the joy in doing the work makes it easy to do.
So we were talking a little bit and you was telling us about how the animals, how happy they were to be in the new space. And you could see that. It sort of really warmed your heart to see them come out of the truck and into their new space.
Yes, I'm actually, it's nice that you noticed that, because as I was watching the video, it really warmed my heart to see them come out of the truck and really enjoy the new space. And, you know, it really makes it worthwhile doing all the work that we had to do to get it ready for them. You know, farm animals are the worst treated of all animals in the world, really, and certainly in the United States. And over 10 billion are slaughtered every year mainly for people's meals and their desire to eat animals. And there's a lot of issues that have begun to come to light, and I think people are really, you know, including global warming, the toxic effects on human health,
Right.
and also the effects of eating animals on human health. But I think most people are really very compassionate. And they just haven't thought about farm animals. So what we want to do at our sanctuary, beside rescuing some animals, because we'll never be able to really make a huge dent in the number of animals that go to slaughter, but provide a place where people can come and meet them, and really maybe that will help them start to change their thinking. And if we can do that, and we have done that to some extent, it's very satisfying. But if we could do that, with more people, that'll make it all worthwhile.
It was so very lovely when I saw this invite. I saw it on a Facebook, and I said, because I have this huge pumpkin in my car, and I was going to give it to my neighbor, but I saw that they had pumpkins outside the house. And when I saw that you all were looking for people to bring pumpkins for the turkeys, I said, yay! I can take my pumpkin for the turkeys. And I have to say, you had a fantastic turnout that day. And it was cars kept coming, and it was, loads of people and loads of pumpkins. People bought pumpkins, and I had a lovely tour around the farm and met the different animals and heard about their stories and how they got there. And, some of it was quite heartbreaking. Some of the situations that those lovely animals that, what they've had to endure. And so I wanted to have you all come on and talk about it, because it's important that people understand what it is that animals go through, because they have feelings too. And so we have to be mindful, and as you very eloquently said, it's a desire to eat, and not to condemn anybody, that's their thing, but it's to give them that awareness of what happens to those animals, how they're treated.
I think, I'm sure many of your viewers, I watched for a little while, but being a farmer, I can't stay up that late, but the Academy Awards, where Joaquin Phoenix made his acceptance speech, basing it a lot on animal abuse and how people can, he hopes that people will begin to think about how animals are treated and begin to move away from that. And I thought it was really wonderful, because I think it reflects what a lot of people are starting to think across the country. And the more people just reflect on their own behaviors, their own feelings.
Sure.
And one of the nicest things about, if I could give anybody's a little advice, to visit a sanctuary, any sanctuary that they would like to go to, and see how it makes them feel.
Right.
Because one of the nicest things, I think, for me getting up in the morning, but for people who come to visit, they always, I wouldn't say always, but almost all of them say how peaceful they feel. Because they're visiting animals that are enjoying life and not going to be hurt in any way. And it gives people a really good feeling if they can extend their compassion to changing their ways of eating. That would be wonderful. But even just to sort of get in touch with the feelings that they have when they meet these animals, I think that can go a long way toward making this a better world.
Yeah, because we don't realize that when an animal has endured such abuse, it's all energy. And so that energy, that the horrific conditions that animal has been in before it's been slaughtered, you actually take on that vibration and energy of what. And so sometimes you may feel this anger. You don't know why you're feeling angry. It's because of the vibrations of the food that you've eaten. It gets very deep and very complex. I'm not going to go too much into it. But it's just something for people to be mindful and think about. That's what actually happens. So at this time, Ellen, I want to look at some of the wonderful animals, pictures that and share the story about those animals. This turkey, let's hear about the turkey.
This is Emma.
Emma.
Who we got from Farm Sanctuary. She was left in a box with about 80 turkey babies at the end of their driveway. And they certainly couldn't take care of that many turkeys, so they needed homes for them. And it was a time when we were sort of just starting our sanctuary, and we didn't really have any contacts. We didn't know where we could get animals from very well. So we did get a few from some of the bigger sanctuaries that needed to rehome their animals. And Emma came with 3 other baby turkeys to live with us, and she lived almost to 10 years of age. And she was both a very gentle soul, but a very sort of forceful personality. She could immediately know who was nice and who wasn't among the humans. And
Very intuitive soul.
my husband always likes to tell a story about one time the Girl Scouts came to our farm, and they were doing some kind of badge on, you know, animal welfare or something. They each had to write a little story or a poem about animals and how they would try to take care of them for their whole life, and, you know, whatever. And they sat in a circle, and then each Girl Scout would have to get up and go in the center and read their poem. And while it was getting organized, the turkeys were cackling away and squawking and carrying on and running around. And when the program began and the first girl got up, the turkeys all went, including Emma, to different parts of the circle, and they sat down, and they didn't make any noise after that. It was really beautiful. And my husband has written a book on the emotional lives of animals and children.
Nice.
Insights from a Farm Sanctuary. And on the cover of the book is a picture of Emma with our granddaughter, and she's hugging the turkey. And this picture was taken long before the book was done. So, but it is just an example of how children are very compassionate and love animals, and how animals can respond and know that the child is, you know, being kind to them.
Yeah.
And Emma was always the turkey that everybody all the children loved to hug. She was a lovely, lovely creature, and we'll always remember her and be, I think, improved in our own lives from having known her.
Lovely, lovely. And as you mentioned, because animals do have souls, they're not the same as a human soul, but they do have souls too, and they have those they have feelings, and they feel. And so don't think that they don't when we're doing anything that might be abusive or you know, whatever to the animal, because they do have feelings. And I've seen some wonderful images of animals responding to each other, responding to other human beings, and it's very, very lovely. Let's look at the next animal, Ellen.
This is Mac, a lamb that we rescued. Mac was born I guess at a production farm in New Jersey, and he was found a day or so after birth. He was born out in the field, but he didn't have a mother anywhere around him. So we don't know if he even got any milk or anything. And the farm didn't want him because it would take work to give him a bottle several times a day, look after him, take care of him. And whenever a company or a farm or any kind of enterprise is making money off their animals, they're not going to spend money or effort to take care of the animal if it will cost them more than they could get from getting rid of the animal, however they're going to do it. So Mac was sent to another farm, and at that farm, they didn't really want him either, but they weren't so quick to get rid of him. So they started bottle feeding him, and his good luck was that a young woman who had been a 4-H member at that farm was she had become a strong advocate for animals, and was bringing back the trophies she won to recycle them, because she didn't want anything to do with it anymore. And she saw Mac, and so she put out on her Facebook page that this little lamb needs a home, because he would have gone to slaughter pretty soon after, you know, a few weeks or so, when he put on enough weight that they would get something for it. And so nobody seemed to respond, but all the young people at our farm do Facebook and Instagram and all these things. I don't even do it because I'm so old. But they said, we have to get this lamb. So we contacted the young woman, and we said we would take Mac. And she brought him over from New Jersey to our farm. And he lived actually in the cottage in a room that he had for himself. And we bottle fed him several times a day. And then we would, when he got a little bit bigger, we were able to take him out and he could look around at all the other animals and eat a little grass and whatever. And we're very excited to have him. He's very friendly to humans because he really didn't have a sheep mother. He had just human parents. And especially we have one young man who works at our farm who was the main person who took care of him. And Mac will follow him all over the farm. And you see the young man walking by, and then all of a sudden you see Mac following right along. It's really cute, but he's very affectionate, and we're glad that we could, provide him a happy life where he can live out the rest of his life, not having to worry about anything.
Excellent. We'll look at the next image. This is a wonderful story.
So these are three, I guess they are called breeding sows in the industry. They were female pigs allowed to, I guess, get to be at least 6 months old when they would start having babies. And they would be kept having babies, several times a year until they got to an age, maybe 5 or 6, when they didn't have as many as the farmer would want.
Right.
So what usually would happen then is he would send those, they're not elderly because these are, these pigs have not really been genetically modified, so they live to be about 15, but around age 6, they don't have as many babies, so they're ready to go to slaughter. But the farmer, who really did take very good care of these pigs, he made them good food, and they're very gentle, so I don't think he treated them badly ever, although they lived outside, they were born outdoors, and you can see on that picture there was a lot of snow, so they lived outside in all kinds of weather. But he can't find a slaughterhouse to slaughter them because their skulls get so thick that you can't, it's very difficult to kill them. And so the slaughterhouses don't want to deal with pigs, large grown pigs. So Jules, the one in the middle, was befriended by a young woman who worked at this farm. And she looked high and low for a place for Jules to go because the farmer said he would let Jules go if she could find a home. And she couldn't find a home anywhere. It's very difficult to find homes for big pigs. They eat a lot of food and I don't know what else. But we didn't have any really big pigs yet. And when we moved to the new farm, we had some space. So she called us, luckily for Jules, after we had moved. So we said, okay, we'll take her. We had never had any experience with big pigs, and when the farmer backed up his trailer to the barn and Jules got out, we were like, oh my goodness, this pig weighs almost 500 pounds. And she was gigantic, but she was very gentle and friendly, and she would let us rub her, her back, and she kind of would wiggle her rear end when you were scratching her, and she liked it. But she didn't eat very well after she came, and she would walk around sort of looking up in the sky, and we said, gee, there's something wrong. And we called the farmer, and he said, well, they get off their feed sometimes when they go somewhere. But he mentioned that Jules had 2 friends. Well, he didn't say that they were her friends, but there were 2 other pigs that she had been taken from, that she had lived with her whole life. And they were going to go to slaughter too, because they were both breeding sows like Jules, and they were not producing enough babies for him to keep. So we said, after we couldn't find a home for them anywhere, and we knew that they were going to go to slaughter, we said, well, we have to take them. So we did, and Jules was out in the pasture when they arrived. And he backed his truck up this time to the pasture because it has a fence and a place for them to stay overnight. And Jules saw them and ran across the pasture. And it was the most delightful thing that we have seen in a long time. And, and that night, they all went into their lean-to with tons and tons of straw, and they all went to sleep together. And after that, they were all over the place together,
Lovely.
having a great time. So they were friends, and Jules showed how depressed she was, when she was taken away from them, and then how happy she was when they came back. And they were happy too, because they were all snorting around together, having a good time.
Right.
So we were very excited and happy that we could make that happen.
Very
And that's
good.
probably one of the nicest things that's ever happened to us. I mean, it's always nice when you can save an animal from going to slaughter or being treated badly.
Right.
But when you can restore, happiness to the animal by reuniting them with their friends, that was a very special opportunity. We were so glad that we could do that.
Because they want to be happy too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned something which, to be honest with you, I didn't know. You mentioned genetically modified. I didn't know that the animals were genetically modified.
Well, lots of them are.
I didn't know that. I thought
for
vet fruits
purposes
and
of really eating, producing more meat for human consumption, like broiler chickens have been dramatically modified. Commercial turkeys, you saw Emma, she was a white turkey. Whenever you see a white turkey, they've been raised on a factory farm, and they've been bred or selected so that to encourage eating vigorously, turkeys with and broiler chickens with large breast areas, so they have a lot of meat on them.
Right.
And anyway, and sometimes they get so heavy that by the time they're slaughtered, they can't even stand up. It's really terrible. And pigs, the Yorkshire pigs, the pink ones that you see, have all been modified, so they get a lot of serious diseases, and they don't live nearly as long as these what they call heritage breeds, like Jules and her friends are. Different
So the pink pigs are.
But the pink pigs are
I think
the
I saw
Yorkshires.
some of those when I was in France. Those pink pigs.
They usually are the ones that they breed for bacon and pork and so on. But if they are allowed to live longer, they get a lot of cancer and other
Right.
problems. I think due to the genetic, modifications and stuff
Right.
that happen.
It's like,
to make them get so fat.
Right, it's only when you just put it in that, of course I know, because you're about genetically modified foods, but when you say it like that, it brings a different flavor concept to it. Because people think they're eating, it's better to eat, who wants to be a vegetarian and all this? It's like, I'd rather eat my meat. Well, you're not really eating the real thing. So, I mean, there's many aspects to that. But I don't want to get away from, because it's actually getting close to almost the end. I want you to talk about how one can reach the sanctuary.
Oh.
So,
Well, we have a very nice website, which is a good place to start, because
Yes.
it has the address and how to get there, and it has some videos that people might want to look at, all of them made by my husband, who is not a cinematographer by any means, but he's
done a
made
nice
some
job.
beautiful videos. And, you mentioned about animals having emotions. There's some very nice videos of some of the chickens who befriended people, and it's really very eye-opening and very nice for people to just have a first glimpse at what goes on at the sanctuary.
Right.
And then they can come for a visit. It can make an appointment on the computer, on the website, or they can call us, and if none of those dates work, and we can set something up, and they can come for a visit and meet some of the animals and see what kind of neat individuals the animals are,
Right.
and how they feel when they've come to visit the animals. And if they want to volunteer, it's a little hard for people down this far because we are a little bit far away.
But it's a day trip, yeah?
Coming
Not
for,
that
but it's a
far.
good day trip, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of interesting things to do up in Dutchess County.
Right.
And so there's a lot of opportunities to either come for a visit, volunteer, and we desperately, well, not desperately, but we would be very grateful for support, because to really take good care of the animals is very expensive.
Right.
Many of them come with, because they've been rescued from slaughter houses or places where they were just mass-produced and treated badly. They come with a lot of illnesses and surgical problems, a lot of foot problems because they're so heavy they can't stand up, and a lot of illnesses that we have to try to take care of. And so veterinary expenses are high, and a lot of them get medications, and you know, they get special food, and you know, so all of that is very expensive. But we enjoy doing it, and we love having people come to visit. So any time that they would like to, the doors are open, and we're grateful for the opportunity to talk to you about it.
Great.
Nice.
And you know, while I was there, you were all talking about you're going to create some sort of an Airbnb.
Yes, we'd like to.
Right.
We're working on that.
Good, good.
So that'll be on the website, and also we'll probably try to put it all out on Facebook.
Excellent.
But also for those who do social media, we have a wonderful person who takes great photos and puts a lot of great stories and pictures out on Facebook and Instagram. So those are nice ways to follow the Safe Haven Farm Sanctuary
So
and
we'll
see
stay
what's
in
going
touch,
on with the
right.
animals.
We'll stay in touch, and you'll let me know how
Great.
things are progressing.
Great.
So it's time to wrap up.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
We
I
got through
appreciate
great,
this
yes,
time.
and I appreciate you coming. And it was very important to me when I went there, and I said, this is something that we have to profile and show. And so I'm glad that you came and shared with the viewers.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes. And so to the viewers, your level of consciousness is the gateway to the future. Thank you.